Hello everyone, my name is Abhishek. I've worked on systems, infrastructure, and AI engineering at companies such as Google, Replit, and Microsoft. Today I'm going to demo my project Arrakis that provides secure sandboxes for code execution and computer use for AI agents. They also provide backtracking support so agents can go back in time and retrieve their progress fast. Today, you can't browse the internet without coming across the word agent, and more code today is generated by AI. Unfortunately, this code could be malicious or buggy and can attack the system it's run on, whether it's your host or your production server. Another problem is that AI agents are given many higher order tasks like make me a Google News clone, make me a Twitter like web app, or even with computer use, shop for AirPod Pros. Agents need elaborate subtasks to make sense of these goals, and each task can have multiple steps. They need the ability to backtrack in case a subtask fails, and in the future they can try multiple plans to achieve their goal at scale. To solve both these problems, I created Arrakis. Arrakis is a fully customizable and self-hosted sandboxing solution for spawning and managing sandboxes for agents. These sandboxes provide code execution capabilities and a GUI for computer use for AI agents. They are also micro VM based and hence are more secure than running AI code in just plain vanilla containers. Let's see it in action. On the left plane, I've pulled down the Arrakis source code and I've built it from scratch. You can also pull down our pre-built binaries and host it on a Linux server or even on your host Linux machine. Let's start. I'm going to first start the REST server that exposes the REST API our SDK will interact with. As we can see, our server has now started and is listening on port 7000. On the right hand side, I've already pip installed our Python SDK called PyArrakis, and for now we'll be using that to interact with it. We'll see how easy it is to spawn and manage sandboxes using these SDK, but we come with a very flexible API YAML file for the API, so you can use stainless or open API to generate clients in any languages. We also come with the Golang CLI, so you can use the CLI directly as well. So let's start with the SDK. Okay, we have the REST server running. Now I want to first tell the SDK where the REST server is running. So let's create a sandbox manager here. So let's import a sandbox manager and tell it that we are running on port 7000. I'm running it on the same machine, this SDK, but you can run it anywhere and just give it your server's IP. So now we have a valid sandbox manager. Let's create our first sandbox. We created a sandbox called bar1. On the left hand side, we see the REST server starting the sandbox, and it's creating a micro VM, starting the services inside the micro VM to create the sandbox. Now let's try and run some code in the sandbox. You'll see how easy it is to run some code inside the sandbox we created. So just with one command, I'm going to run Python 3 CLI command and ask it to just print hello. We'll see that we got a result back. Let's see what the output is by printing the output within the result. As expected, we see hello. Let's try and do something a little more interesting. Let's try and echo a string to a file. This will also create a file, some state on the micro VM as well. So here we run the command and let's see the output again. It's empty because we have written to the file, so there's no output for that command. Now let's try and verify what we wrote by catting this file. Let's see the output. Okay, perfect. So we wrote before snapshot, and I've written this for a particular reason that will be evident in the demo, but just keep in mind we've written like before snapshot in this file. As mentioned before, Arrakis also provides a very simple and fast booting VNC server that exposes the GUI inside a sandbox. So an AI agent can access the GUI of the sandbox for computer use. Where Arrakis really shines is it manages all the port forwardings for you to externally access this GUI via VNC. So let's see how that works. So here, I'll first print the metadata about the sandbox. And you see there's a port forwards list here that documents all the ports that are forwarded on the host that map to ports inside the guest. And Arrakis takes care of all of these. You don't have to set these up manually, and it destroys them when you destroy or delete the sandbox. So here we see that port 3000 on our dev server maps to the VNC server. The description is GUI here. So let's access port 3000 on our dev server and see if we can access the GUI of the sandbox. So I'm going to use no VNC as my VNC client, and you can see this is my dev server's IP, and 3000 is the public port that I'm going to access. That's going to be forwarded inside the sandbox. Okay, perfect. So now I have this very nice URL that I can hit locally. Let's see how that looks to us in Chrome. Every sandbox's password is the same. It's Ilara 0000. And let's see. Currently, our sandbox GUI is up. We are in like a locked state. So let's enter the password and unlock it. We can see it looks like a regular like Debian Ubuntu based VM. Let's try and open Chrome. Every sandbox comes with Chrome pre-installed. Let's go here. Let's see. Okay, so Chrome boots for the first time since it seems like it's a new machine to it. Okay, let's try and open some of my favorite websites here. And I'm going to quickly show why the window placement and the tabs I open are important in a minute. Okay, perfect. I have this website open. Let's also open. Okay, I guess it wasn't liked by this firewall. Let's try and open something else. Okay, New York Times is open. So I've opened two websites, Cricinfo and New York Times, and I've also moved the Chrome window somewhere on the right. These two things are very important. Remember these. And let's try now like snapshot the sandbox. So currently we have a file that says before snapshot somewhere on the file system, and we have this window on the right, and these two tabs are open. Now let's show you the magic of snapshotting and see how that works. Okay, so now we've opened Chrome, we've moved the window, opened a couple of tabs. Now let's snapshot this exact state of the sandbox and see how that works. So it's as simple as this API call. And you'll see on the left hand side that the REST server is working hard to save the entire memory, the guest memory of this sandbox. And now we have a snapshot, and we identify it on the server by using this variable called snap ID. And just for good measure, let's try and write to that file that we wrote to before, and it'll be obvious what we're writing. We're writing after snapshot to differentiate that we've written this after snapshotting the VM. So output there, let's cat it for good measure and see what we wrote. Okay, yeah, we see that the file that we created now says after snapshot. But remember, before we snapshotted, it said before snapshot. That's going to be important. Assume that the agent is now done and it destroys the sandbox. So you can see on the left hand side, we're deleting all the port forwardings, and we've just reclaimed all the memory and resources on the host. And now an agent can come back later and decide that, hey, I want to backtrack and restore the snapshot I created. So let's now restore the VM. Okay, so with the SDK, it's stupid simple to restore a sandbox. Let's see how. So we'll call this API restore. We'll name it bar1 again, which was the name of the original sandbox. And we'll pass in the snapshot ID that we had before, just snap_ID. And let's see what happens. On the left hand side, you'll see that the server is working hard to read all the snapshots data, and then basically populating the guest memory and creating a new sandbox. Okay, seems like we've started. Let's try and see the contents of the test file we created. This will be interesting because we wrote to it before the snapshot, took a snapshot and wrote to it after the snapshot. So let's see. Okay, so I did catted the test file, and let's see the result we get. As expected, since we wrote before snapshotting the original sandbox, we see this. In the original sandbox, we had written to it and written after snapshot. Let's see the exciting part of the demo, which is what our GUI looks like. So again, we'll get the metadata about the port forwarding. This time, port 3001 has been forwarded on the host to this new VM, and so that's what we'll use. So let's cancel the old one, use this. We get a nice URL again, and let me try and open this again. 1 second. Okay, we'll connect to our sandbox again. Okay, great. As expected, the window is on the right hand side where we moved it in the original sandbox, and you can see both the tabs we opened is Cricinfo, today is a good day for India, and also New York Times. Okay, so we were able to see that how the restored VM resumes from exactly how we left the snapshot, and this translates to the GUI state as well. And in our case, the two tabs we opened on Chrome and the Windows state. So you can extend this to agents like planning complicated multi-step flows, but being able to backtrack between those flows, and at scale, many of these flows running in parallel to get more reliable results for higher order tasks. And also just security for code exec. If any of this is interesting, please check out Arrakis on GitHub, and also the SDK is called PyArrakis. Please reach out if you want to use this on your products or your agents. Thank you.